So I'm going to pick the obvious answer. Me, dude. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Jeffrey and this is AutoAlchemy, the intersection between typology and self-growth. And today we're going to be reviewing and thinking through the objective personality test. Let's jump into it. Thanks for tuning into the video, guys. If you want early access to content like this and other bonus goodies, don't forget to become a member at my Buy Me a Coffee page. Anyway, on to the video. As I said, we're going to be looking at the objective personality test. Now, this is an unofficial objective personality test. It's not something that has been endorsed by Dave and Shan, but I do find it interesting to just think about the concept of an objective personality test. One reason why I find that interesting is because one of the fundamental building blocks of the objective personality thought process or the objective personality worldview is that we cannot see ourselves. And that's one reason why conventional personality tests don't really work for us. We don't know what we're looking at. We're wearing blinders. We don't see the programs that we're using on default. And so we have sometimes this idealized self-image that we're using when we're navigating online personality tests like the 16 personalities test. Wouldn't it be convenient if I actually were great at dealing with people's emotions? Or would it be convenient if I were this deep and reflective, introspective individual? It doesn't always work like that, but sometimes these things infiltrate our self-identity and they become part of our worldview. They become part of the internal landscape. Sometimes without good reason. Sometimes if you look at the entire spectrum of humanity, you're not really doing that thing as much as you could be or as much as someone else is doing. In fact, you might be doing the opposite and you're doing it so much, it's like breathing, you don't even notice that you're doing it. It's an automatic program that's being executed upon. And in fact, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. One of the key components to personality type, if you look at Psychological Types by Carl Jung, is the notion of automaticity. What is automatic? What is something that's happening unreflectively? So I lost my train of thought somewhere in the tangents, but essentially it's weird to think about whether or not there could be a test that would somehow circumvent all of your blind spots and show you something about yourself that you're not already bringing to the test. That's one thing that I always hated about the 16 personalities test when I was younger. It's like, okay, you're not telling me anything that I didn't just tell you. Tell me something new. Make a prediction about me that goes beyond the scope of the questions. So anyway, I'm going to be taking this objective personality test and I'm going to kind of think through the questions, talk out loud about my thought process, and hopefully that will be interesting or illuminating to you guys. Maybe it'll show you something about objective personality that you haven't already thought about. Maybe in my exploring and sharing my exploring with you, we can find new ground. Let's look at the test. It's a free test created by Vegan Leroy. Uses modifications of the classical Jungian cognitive functions to type people on a spectrum. Fun fact, cognitive functions is nowhere to be found within the Jungian oeuvre. He never talks about cognitive functions, he talks about psychic functions, functions of the psyche. It's clear why maybe people have updated to cognitive functions, but I think it's worth holding on to that distinction, at least in your head as you're reading through things. Blah, 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 socionics, blah, 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 blah. Taken some inspiration from the Big Five, so the objective personality system is aspiring to be more scientifically respected than something like the Myers-Briggs. Another thing to point out here, obviously it's not a replacement for an official typing and it's only going to give you your savior functions, and those two savior functions work together to also give you your lead savior animal. So we're not going to get that precise, we're not going to get down to the 512 level of typological granularity. Question 1. Which would best describe yourself? Have trouble making other people understand, appreciate, get on board with doing things or seeing things your way, and you may have trouble getting on board with other people's stuff. Or your life revolves around helping, giving advice for other people, but you can't help yourself. You don't know what to do with helping yourself. Or you encounter random things that threaten your long-term goals, or the integrity of pre-existing structures / whatever. Fourth, you have trouble devoting enough time to something to see your investments bear their fruits. Maybe you're even struggling to devote time at all because you like to keep your options open. So this is getting at the 4 human needs. Essentially, the human needs are these ancient, perennial problems facing the human psyche, and people generally act to optimize according to 2 of the human needs, with one of them being primary. So we're getting at the primary human need right now. Is it the IP need, the EP need, the IJ need, or the EJ need? I really like the way that this particular question is framing things in terms of a dichotomy. Because you're doing this one thing, you are missing this other thing. Because you are compulsively going all in one area, you have to, by necessity, neglect the other half of the equation. I think that's a beautiful Jungian insight. It's part of his concept of repression, automaticity. It's wonderful. So anyway, you have trouble devoting time to something for long enough to see your investments bear fruit. I struggle the most with devoting time to something, with building, with not constantly being distracted by the next shiny thing that I see. You can really see this on my YouTube channel. I've had a YouTube channel for 3 years now, I think, and I keep jumping from one thing to the next and sometimes jumping back, but I'm never really building because I'm jumping so much. I've been working on my type wraps for so long now. You would think that I would be done by this point, but I'm not. And yeah, it's just a problem that I have, but you gotta be consistent, you gotta put your reps in. But anyway, this is my answer. Which do you find yourself doing more / most often? Do you naturally take in information and are not necessarily inclined to share it or act on it, or act on new information presented in the moment and interact with people and the environment accordingly? I'm gonna say the first one. Which do you find yourself doing more? Having trouble processing and understanding abstract concepts / theoretical info, or organizing factual information and dealing with organization in the real world? Well, I think I'm more at home in the realm of theory. If you look at my channel, I think that's pretty undeniable. Definitely struggle more with the real world, sensory input, certainly organizing things, organizing factual information. I mean, I got a scarcity of factual information at my disposal. I really need to stock up. I think I can make a more compelling argument for some of my intuitive points if I had a little arsenal of sensory data that I could use to defend myself. Yeah, I don't even think I need to justify this one. If you don't understand this from just observing me for a few moments, then truly you are lost. And then finally, which do you find yourself doing more / most often? Exposing yourself to things you find appealing, or learning about how things and systems work. I really don't like this dichotomy. Whatever your saviors are, even if you are savior thinking, TI or TE, that's something that you are going to find animalistically appealing, something that you are going to do compulsively. Like, you just can't help yourself. And so how is that not appealing? You know, I think of myself as a map maker, somebody who is trying to explore concepts and figure things out, connect the dots. I find that appealing, but the appeal alone is not enough. If I just found it emotionally cool, then I wouldn't do it. There has to be another layer of getting involved in the Rubik's Cube game of thinking things through. So I'm gonna pick the obvious answer. Me, dude. So, demon sensory, I obviously clicked on the question that indicated that I was a savior sensor. All right, NETI, lead consume. Lead consume types generally find it difficult to start building. Of course, always looking for new options. Continuous learners who have the highest consciousness among their peers. Now, this test is giving me what I've always wanted from other personality tests. The tests that say, hey, you're amazing to be an INFJ. I've always wanted to be an INFJ just so I can get my head inflated even more than it already is. Identity is formed around your reasons and what you consider to be true. Yes. How things work. Yes. form my dislikes and likes based on what is socially acceptable. I don't know if I agree with that particular phrasing, but I see what they mean. I do care about maintaining harmony. I care about maintaining vibes. I am somebody who is double activated on my FE. Having SI means that your information is stored chronologically. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that this could be improved. So anyway, if I had to recommend some improvements for this test, obviously I would change some of the language, update some of the definitions. I would make sure that most of the questions were functioning as a coin, like question 1 exemplified that really well. Another thing that I think could be potentially interesting is if instead of picking one of these, you could sort of grab one, slide it to the top, slide the second one down to the bottom, and actually rank your answers. And so maybe at the end you would get a set of probabilities. So based on your answers, you're most likely this, second option would be this, third option would be this. I would find that perhaps a little more interesting, a little more engaging, and it would just be a better tool in general for doing that self-reflection. One thing that I do like about this test is that it does solve one of the problems that I see with conventional Jungian personality tests. So obviously you have the problem that people can't see themselves clearly. Second problem is, obviously, if the objective personality system is true or approximately true, then there is this entire toolbox of further dichotomies that normal Jungian typology is overlooking. And so all of the information that could apply to a person's personality is getting condensed into a more restrictive framework. But yeah, perhaps solving the problem of at least having the appropriate number of personality constructs as part of your test would go some way towards making personality tests better. But yeah, going back to the problem of how you get a person to see himself or herself clearly, I have no clue how you accomplish that. And I'm wondering if there are certain questions you could phrase in a particular way to kind of trick people to answering truthfully, or if you could somehow involve like a writing prompt and then get an AI to actually analyze that data and compare it to a data set of textual information from people who have been officially typed. I don't know, it seems like there are certain pathways available. It's just a matter of executing on those possibilities and then seeing how they work out in actuality. Anyway, if you have no idea what your objective personality type is, if you haven't been officially typed, take the test and tell me what insight you glean from it. Does it seem interesting? Does it help you understand something about yourself? Are you surprised by the result? Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I will catch you guys next time. Goodbye.